Hi everyone, Samantha MacDonald here from Coaching Minds. So excited to be with you guys here today. I'm just going to wait for a few people to hop on before we get started. So today, like the title says, we're going to be talking about mindfulness and eating. And two things before we do start is one, I'd like to ask each and every one of you what you think mindfulness while eating is, or eating mindfully. What does that mean? And then secondly, this is one of the lives where you guys get to actually eat. So I'm inviting each and every one of you to grab a bite-sized serving of your favorite food before we eat. Don't eat it yet. We're going to use it later, but go ahead and grab. So I have some examples for you in case you do get stuck. So you can grab a fruit of your choice. I have strawberries, or I have some almonds, any nut of your choice, or you can be really, really naughty and get something sweet. I have some dates here. Go for it. You can grab chocolate. You can grab a favorite crisp of your choice, your favorite biscuit, but as long as it is bite size. So grab your favorite snack. We're going to use it later. And just to ask each and every one of you, what do you think eating mindfully means? So, hello Paula, thank you so much for joining me today. Hi Priya, thank you so much for being here. Hey Vijaya, and hello Adele. So I see it's all the girls today. So excited. So like I said, just grab a bite-sized serving of your favorite food, doesn't matter what it is. And then today's question is, what do you think eating mindfully means? So just to start off, I'd like to actually go into what mindfulness actually means. So mindfulness means that we are conscious, or that we are aware that we are doing something. So being mindful means that we are aware and being present in the now, being in that moment. The difference comes into play when we are eating and we are being mindfully is that we do not do two things. The first thing is that we have no judgment whatsoever. And the second is that we have no expectation. So being aware while we are eating, but not expressing judgment or expectation. So I'm just going to hop into the comments and see what you guys have to say. So Priya says that eating mindfully is to eat moderately. Paula says that it is being mindful of what is going into your body. You're both correct there. Vijay says knowing what you are eating and enjoying the food that you are eating, giving the food the respect and attention it deserves. I love that, giving food respect. Fantastic. And Paula's also added here that being thoughtful about my food. So you all are heading in the right direction, which is fantastic. So just to add to what each and every one of you are saying, so yes, it's about Vijay, as you said, being aware of what we are eating and respecting it. Priya, like you say, eating moderately. And Paula, like you say, being mindful of what is actually going into your body. But what is important is that when we eat something, we shouldn't be judgeful with it, and we shouldn't have an expectation with it. That's the biggest element about eating mindfully. So to give you guys an example of judgment with food would be saying whether or not food is good or bad. A great example of this would be chocolate. I'm sure each and every one of us here can say that we love chocolate. But in the back of our minds, there's always something that's telling us that we shouldn't eat it because it is a bad food. So that would be a judgment towards chocolate. So I'd love for you guys to share with me whether you've ever had a judgment towards a certain food, good or bad, doesn't matter, and why it is that you have that judgment towards it. So go ahead and share with me. So a food that you think is good or bad and why. Paul has also said here that I need to be aware of what goes into my body and what it needs. Yes, that's a huge part of it. And she's sharing here, I used to be anorexic when I was 16 to 19. I'm really sorry to hear that, Paula, but it looks like you've overcome it, which is absolutely fantastic. I think mindfulness plays a huge part into eating disorders, and it's, one of the biggest things that can be used to actually overcome certain eating disorders. So, but that's fantastic. Extremely proud of you. Yeah, no, fantastic. So glad that you've overcome it. So, like I was saying with judgment, so we can also have a good judgment towards food. So a lot of us can think that, for example, vegetables are good food because they are healthy and they are full of fiber, but at the same time, that is also a judgment towards it. So when we are being mindful, when we are eating, we shouldn't have judgment towards food, because when we have judgment towards food, we inadvertently have a judgment towards ourselves. And we start to think that we are what we eat. If I eat that chocolate because it's a bad person and a bad food, bad person, and I didn't have the discipline to say no, then I'm just giving into my cravings. I should be more disciplined and not eat the chocolate. So when we judge food, we inadvertently judge ourselves. Like I said as well, expectation. So an example of expectation would be, and I'm going to use the same food, an example of expectation would be that if I eat that chocolate, I'm going to gain weight, or my sugar is going to rise and drop. So that would be an expectation. So judgment is thinking whether a food is good or bad. And expectation is thinking that that food is going to do something to you physically or emotionally. Exactly, Vijaya. We shouldn't be judgmental towards food. We should be grateful towards it. And why should we be grateful towards food? Because it is actually giving us something. It is providing us with nutrition that we need in order to function and to be who we are and to look the way that we do. It is a huge, huge part. It plays a huge part in the human body. So I totally agree with you, Vijaya. We shouldn't be judgmental towards food. We should be grateful for it. So just a reminder to anyone that's just joined, we are going to be doing an exercise later. So I'd love for you to just grab a bite size of any food of your choice, good or bad, depending on how you judge it, which you shouldn't. But it can be something sweet, savory, fruit, vegetable, anything. Absolutely your choice. So Paul is saying that she ate it already. Okay, don't eat the food. Just put it in front of you, okay? Don't eat it. It's for later. But don't stress. I'm sure you have more, so that's perfectly fine. Okay, so moving on. I'd love to share with you guys what the characteristics of mindful eating are. So there are 4 characteristics. The first is that we have an awareness. So just like all of you ladies said, being aware of what we are eating and what we are putting into our bodies. So having that awareness of 1, our eating habits. So what we eat, when we eat, how much we eat, and also how our food affects us physically. Now, when I say affect us physically, I don't only mean, do you feel full or satisfied? I also mean, how does it make you feel emotionally? Does the food make you feel happy or sad? Are you bored with it? So that's the first characteristic, is being aware of our eating habits. Okay. how we eat, what we eat, and also how it makes us feel. You need to ask yourself these questions. You need to ask yourself constantly, I'm eating this, how does it make me feel, or not only physically, but emotionally, and also, when am I eating, how much am I eating, and what am I eating? Okay. Then the second characteristic of mindful eating is to practice awareness with our emotions. And this comes in line with our hunger and satiety. So I'm not too sure if any of you know what satiety means. If you do, then please share it with me. But yeah, this is focusing on our hunger and satiety. So are we eating because we are hungry? Okay. Or are we eating because of the way that we are feeling emotionally? So are you eating because, wow, I haven't eaten all day, I'm really, really hungry, I'm starting to shake, I'm starting to get a bit of a sweat, my tummy's grumbling? Or are you eating because I'm bored, I've had a really, really rough day at work, so I just want something sweet, or I've gotten home at 8 o'clock, I'm way too tired, so I'm not going to eat anything at all. So Priya's saying that she needs to give that a try. Yeah, you need to, we often, and that's what mindful eating is, Priya, we need to ask ourselves these questions. We so often just put things into our mouths without even thinking about it, without even asking ourselves questions. And we need to do that. We need to constantly ask ourselves why we are eating, what we are eating, and how it makes us feel. So Vijay has answered my question, and she said that satiety is a feeling of being satiated or full. So on the right track there, Vijay. So there is a massive difference between feeling full, okay, and feeling satiated. Feeling full is an uncomfortable feeling if you think about it. When you overeat and you feel slightly bloated, you start to feel sluggish. That's a feeling of being full. When we are satiated, we have given our body exactly what it needs, and it is content comfortably. We have no cravings. We long for nothing. We've eaten just the right amount. We are comfortable. That's what satiated means. So the second characteristic, as I was saying, which is when we focus on our hunger, whether it is emotional or physical, that comes into line with being satiated or full. When you get to that point of being satiated, you need to stop. A lot of us continue to eat because something is just yummy and we get past that point, or we tap into that emotional hunger and we continue to eat even though we're satiated and our body no longer needs more, but we continue to do that because of the way that we are feeling emotionally. Please, guys, feel free to stop me at any moment if you have any questions. I know there's a lot that goes in line with mindful eating. But yeah, so thank you, Vijay, for answering that question. So yeah, satiety does have something to do with fullness, but it has a lot to do with being more content and being comfortable rather than feeling that physical fullness. Paula says, it's really important to pace ourselves and pay attention to how we eat. That is so true. That is where satiety comes into play, Paula. A lot of us, I think a huge example of this would be our plates. I don't know about any of you, but when I put something on my plate, my brain automatically tells me that I need to finish everything on my plate. And that is not true. If I only eat half of my plate and I'm satiated, that's perfectly fine. But if I continue to eat and I get to that point of fullness, I've completely overdone it. And then I've stepped over that boundary of being mindful while I'm eating. That's why we have to continuously ask ourselves, okay, slow down. How am I feeling? Do I want to eat more or am I satiated? You're welcome, Vijay. You know what? You're not the only one. I didn't know the difference either until I became a nutritionalist. I always thought that, I should eat until I feel physically full, but it's totally not the truth. Our body does different things to show us that we are satiated. So that was the second characteristic. I'm now going to go into the third. So the third characteristic of mindful eating is that we use all of our senses. So this comes in line with what you were saying earlier, Vijaya, about respecting our food, not just eating it, actually enjoying it. So I always say to people that we shouldn't eat food. We should experience food. When we eat food, we need to tap into all of our senses, not just taste. We need to ask ourselves, what does this food sound like? What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? The texture, what does it feel like? We need to experience food in awe, because when you experience food with all of your senses, that's when that gratitude comes into play. And that's when mindful eating just comes with ease. It just happens naturally because you start using everything that you have to experience and enjoy the food that's in front of you. I have to be very aware of what I eat and when and the amount. I use small plates on purpose and have visual. You know what? A lot of people do that, Paula. That's perfectly fine. So using smaller plates so that you don't overindulge, you're already practicing mindfulness just by doing that. Okay. Then lastly, the last characteristic of mindful eating is to acknowledge our responses to food. A lot of us sit and we smell something, or we come into contact with a certain food. Our body does something, it has a response to it, and we automatically shut it down. Like for example, let's say you go over to your family and your mom's baked this beautiful cake and she places it on the table in front of everybody. Your mouth starts to water and you start looking at it and examining it and enjoying it, and all of a sudden you say to yourself, no, I shouldn't eat this cake, and you automatically pull back and stop yourself. Instead of doing that, we should acknowledge our responses to food. If you enjoy a certain food, enjoy a certain food. If you dislike a certain food, then dislike it. There's no need to stop yourself. Embrace the way you feel with food. Accept the way you feel with food, because I'm going to tell you, ladies, something. There is no right or wrong way to eat food. We live in a society now where there are so many diets out there. It is actually so frustrating and so mind-boggling, and we can't really keep up with it because it's a Mediterranean diet and veganism and keto and intermittent fasting, all of these things that we come across. And it's just so overwhelming when we should just eat for ourselves. You should create a diet that is uniquely, that works for you. If you live a busier lifestyle and you can't really cook every night, then build a diet that works for you. You don't have to follow a step-by-step 3 pieces of chicken, 1 piece of broccoli, and no sugar all day. You don't have to do that. You need to build a unique diet that works for you and enjoy food, experience food, but at the same time be grateful for it and respect it. So that's extremely important. I think a lot of us put these boundaries on ourselves because, we're afraid of gaining weight or living an unhealthy lifestyle. But when, like Priya said earlier, when you eat in moderation and you don't overindulge and you eat mindfully, then all of that falls away and it doesn't matter. 1 piece of chocolate or a few biscuits at a tea party is really not going to make a massive impact on you. So Ask yourself those questions, be mindful, but at the same time, experience and enjoy food. Right. So I wanted to ask each and every one of you a question, and that is when was the last time that you experienced food? When was the last time that you ate something that you really enjoyed to the fullest? Just the name of what you ate. What was that you ate that you really, really enjoyed? I'd love to know. I'd love to have this. Doesn't matter when it was, whether you were a child or an adult, but I'd love to know when you fully experienced food. Not the people around you, not the environment, the actual food that was set in front of you from start to finish. So I'm just going to go here. So I agree with you. Food should be experienced. That's why I love to cook my own food. So do I, Paula, so do I. And you know what I love about food is that we can be creative with it. You know, we all come from different countries and different cultures and different families, and we all cook differently. And we can be so creative with it. For me, a plate is like a blank piece of paper. You know, you can do absolutely anything to it. There are no rules whatsoever. You know, if you wanted to put peanut butter on everything in your house, then you can do it. So absolutely love that. Food brings back memories for me too. So I try to be aware of why I'm having this memory. That's so true. You know, I think for me, a good example of this again would be like peanut butter. When I was younger, we didn't have a lot of money, you know, so lunch for me to take to school used to be like peanut butter on bread. So that was basically what I had, probably more than I'd like to admit. And I actually started to dislike peanut butter. Like I just didn't like it because I had it all the time. And as I got older, I did what you did, Paula. You know, I asked myself, why do I hate peanut butter so much? Maybe I should try it differently. So my mom put it on sandwiches all the time. What if I try having it in my yogurt or in my oatmeal or just on its own? And when I started, you know, asking myself those questions and experimenting with food, I actually started to like peanut butter, and now I absolutely love it. I eat it all the time. So Priya says that her pineapple slices are very tempting. I know, trust me, I'm also sitting here with food in front of me. Just don't touch it, okay? We're almost there. Paula says, yesterday, my son and a cheeseburger. And you know what, Paula? Most people would think that a cheeseburger is a bad food, but I'm sure that you enjoyed it from start to finish. And when you woke up this morning, I'm sure your jeans still fit, didn't they? I'm sure you still slipped into those pair of jeans with ease. No problem whatsoever. Vagina, today's lunch. When I cook, I respect and love the food that I am cooking. I absolutely love that. I think a lot of us are not in touch with our bodies, and we aren't in touch with food either. I think a lot of us have lost respect for it. You know, I think food gets wasted all the time as well. You know, because we become so greedy. I remember as a child, you know, I had so many siblings in my family, and you know, my mom would cook dinner, and because we were so scared that all the food was going to be done, you know, we used to pack our plates to the brim. You know, we really used to overdo it. We had no respect for it whatsoever, and you would eat to the point where you couldn't anymore, and then the rest of the food on that plate would just go to waste. So I think as adults, we really need to change that. We should just focus on satiety. We should eat mindfully. We should do, as you say, Vijay, we should respect food. And, you know, food will respect us back because food does give us a lot, you know. I love looking, smelling, and tasting my food. Need to listen and feel the texture now. That's brilliant, Priya. And you know what? When you do all of that, food becomes fun and you start to enjoy it. And the funny thing about it is that when we start to focus on our senses and we start to smell things and look at them and taste them and listen, and we tap into all of that, we actually slow ourselves down. Because I'm not too sure if you guys know this, but it can take between 20 and 45 minutes for the body to actually realize that it's full. That's how long it takes your stomach to tell your brain that you're full and you don't want to eat more. So when we eat our entire meal in those first 10 minutes, then we can either feel one of two things. We can feel overly full, or we can feel like we're still hungry when we actually aren't. So by doing this, Priya, you slow down and you practice mindful eating. So that's beautiful. Right, so we've gone through what mindful eating is, the characteristics, but the big question here is, and a few of you have already answered it already, is how do we become mindful, or how do we practice mindful eating? Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is slow down. Easier said than done, but we have to slow down. When you're eating, breathe. You know, it's very important to breathe. A lot of us forget to breathe, even when we're working, even when we're doing anything. When we're eating, we need to slow down and just breathe, you know. And sometimes if you feel like you're speeding up and you want to slow down, put your knife and fork down on your plate, sit back, think about something for a while, ask yourself, you know, oh, wow, what does this taste like? What does this feel like? And then carry on eating. Just slow down and reflect on your plate. You know, look at your plate and ask yourself, what do you want to eat next? What are you looking forward to eating next? You know, do you really want to eat more? You know, how are you feeling? All of this stuff. So constantly reflect on your plate and eat slowly. The next thing is, and I know we've probably heard this a million times, right? Is to not eat in front of the TV. So the next thing is to remove all distractions. It's very, very difficult to do this. I think nowadays most families sit in front of the TV or sit with each other and eat. But it's very important that we remove those distractions. The biggest one that I find with a lot of my clients as well is that they eat and work at the same time. I don't know if any of you do this, but eating and doing your job at the same time is as helpful as it is because it allows us to be productive. Sometimes we need to just stop what we're doing and eat so that we can focus on our meal. So remove all distractions. And I know we can't do it with every meal every day, but if you can choose just one meal in your day and focus on it, that already will make the biggest difference. I promise you, that will make the biggest difference. And eventually you'll enjoy it so much that you'll be able to do it for 2 meals and then all of your meals. So start practicing with one meal where you just shut everything off. No TV, no nothing, just you sit there and enjoy the meal that you have placed in front of you. Next is to prepare a eating routine. Now, I know for many of us, like I just said, we're very, very busy and that this can be difficult. Creating a routine around eating is, it's not the easiest thing in the world, especially since some of us aren't hungry at certain times. We're not all hungry at 9 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 6 o'clock in the evening. So when I say prepare routine, I don't mean that you eat at certain times and that you know what you're going to eat. When I say prepare routine, what I mean is that you either sit when you're eating, so make that, choose one habit, choose one routine that you are going to do every time you eat. So whether it is, I'm going to switch everything off, or I'm going to sit at this table and eat, or I'm going to use this size of plate. Choose something that you can identify with, that you're not going to change every time you eat. And only do this when you start practicing mindful eating. It's just to get the ball rolling, because eventually you'll do it. It'll become habitual without you even thinking about it. So create something in your routine that just sparks that, so that your body knows, oh, okay, I'm sitting at this table. This means I'm going to eat, so I can focus on that and I can concentrate on that. Then another thing is to, like I said earlier, so it goes in line with the second characteristic of mindful eating, is identifying what type of hunger it is. So when you start to feel hungry, or you have a cue that you want to eat, ask yourself whether you are eating because you're hungry or for emotional gratification. This is very, very important, because a lot of us, sorry about the birds, a lot of us eat simply just for the sake of eating. And we shouldn't do that. We should ask ourselves why we are eating. So make sure that, before you grab something or before you make a meal, that you are eating because you're actually hungry, not because, you're bored, or you're feeling slightly sad, or, you just want to get the food out of the way. A big example of this, I find, is when we go to gatherings with people and we're not really hungry, or we've had enough to eat, but we continue to eat because we don't want to insult the people around us. I don't know if any of you have experienced this. I often do when I go to family. I'll eat a little bit and I'll be stuffed, like I don't want to eat more. And because I feel guilty, or I don't want to upset that person or insult them or offend them in any way, I start eating just a bit more. And we shouldn't do that. We should ask ourselves. So for me, sitting in that moment, I can ask myself and I can say, okay, am I putting more on this plate because I'm hungry, or am I putting more on this plate because I don't want to upset someone? And by asking myself that question, I can automatically say, okay, I'm not eating it because I'm hungry, so I can put it aside. And that's already a healthier choice. Okay. Drinking a lot of water with your meal is not really good for you. I've learned this because it washes the food through faster, making your full sensation less. This is very, very true. So, drinking water while you are eating, you're correct, Paula. It is a very unhealthy habit. I know some of us do get thirsty while we are eating, but we shouldn't really do that. The best thing to do here is to eat 10 or 15 minutes before you're going to have a meal. It actually helps you, because most of the time, our body can't differentiate between thirst and hunger. A lot of the time when we feel hungry, we are actually thirsty. So 10 to 15 minutes before you have a meal, drink a glass of water. And then if you're still feeling hungry, then you can eat something. But a lot of the time I find that we're just feeling dehydrated. Your body does the exact same thing. From those, from your stomach making noises to your hands getting a bit sweaty or feeling a bit shaky, those are also signs of dehydration. So just make sure that, you drink something before you eat. Okay, so Priya has a question. I find myself that I snack more than eating portion sizes of food. Is that bad? My biggest meal is at lunch, and it's mostly rice, steamed veggies, and some kind of curry. Okay, So there is nothing wrong with snacking throughout the day. And if that is your way of eating, Priya, as opposed to having, remember, a portion size of something, I'll give you a perfect example here. So I've got almonds here. A serving size of almonds is 6 almonds. That's a perfect serving size. That, along with an apple or yogurt, can be considered a meal. It's not considered a snack. So as long as you are eating healthily and that you are satiated, then it's considered a meal. It doesn't really matter. And like from what I can read here, you say that you're eating rice, steamed veggies, and some kind of curry. That's a balanced meal. So that's perfectly fine. Like I said earlier, everyone is unique and everyone is different. And you need to build a diet that works for you. For some people, like I read Paula's comment earlier, she has to eat 6 small meals a day. I can't do that. I can't eat 6 small. I'll feel like I'm overeating no matter how small they are. For you, if snacking throughout the day and eating one big meal works, then that's perfectly fine. There's nothing unhealthy about it at all. Okay, so Vijay has a question here and she's asked us, so how much water should we drink in a day? Okay, so it's different for every single person. I know a lot of people will say that it's 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, but it depends on your weight, Vijay. So you're going to take your weight. Here in South Africa, we use kilograms, but I'll post the metrics just so you can change it up. But for every 10 kilograms of weight, you should drink a glass of water. So for example, if you weigh 80 kilograms, then you're going to drink 8 glasses of water throughout the day. So 1 glass of water for every 10 kilograms of weight. Let me see quickly if I can change that into pounds. So 10 kilograms in, okay, so for every about 22 pounds, you're going to drink a glass of water. Oh, Priya started something. Now Paula wants curry. Oh, goodness. Okay. So moving on. I hope that answers your question, Vijay, and I hope that helps. I hope I've gotten the metrics right. If I haven't, just send me a message in the hub and I'll send the metrics to you. Okay. So the next tip for eating mindfully is, and Paula's touched a bit on this, is to eat small portions. Okay. So like I said, just because you have a big plate doesn't mean that you have to fill the whole plate. I actually want to do a live in a couple of weeks on the plate module. So how to build your plate so that it's balanced. Let me know if you'd like to see that. So yeah, you don't have to fill your whole plate. So start with small portions. That will also help, because I don't know about you guys, but last time I checked, food doesn't run away. It's going to stay there. It's not going to move. So start with a little bit. And if you're still hungry, you can go back and get some more. Right. Then also here is, this is one of my favorite tips. So I know you guys know this about me, but if you don't, I'm a minimalist and I live a life based on sustainability. And this is one of my favorite tips. And even if you aren't living sustainably and you aren't a minimalist, you will absolutely love this. So purchase food that can be repurposed. A fantastic example of this is rice. There is nothing that I can't do with rice. There is nothing that I can't add to rice. So purchase foods that you can use in different ways, that you can get creative with. And the reason why I give this tip is because more so than often, we start to get bored with the foods that we are eating. So this will help you because, for example, like rice, you can put anything on it, you can add anything to it, and you can get creative with it. And it's also a good staple for a good balanced diet. Fantastic. Okay, so we'll do that in a few weeks. I'll do the plate module just so you guys know how you can build up your plates. Fantastic. Okay, then lastly, and this is just to touch on what I said earlier about expectation and judgment. Whenever you eat, don't judge the food or yourself. There is no good or bad food. There is no good or bad diet, and there is no right or wrong way to eat. If you like eating something, then eat it. If you have a craving or a preference, acknowledge it and embrace the way that you're eating. Right. So I want to leave you guys with a bit of a quote before we go into this exercise and Priya eats her pineapples, which is by Michelle May. And it is, when I'm hungry, I eat what I love. When I am bored, I do something that I love. When I'm lonely, I connect with someone that I love. And when I feel sad, I remember that I am loved. So when you're hungry, eat what you love and experience it. So let me finally answer this question. So the reason why you have a bite-sized piece of food in front of you is because we are going to do a mindfulness meditation. So hi, Andini. Thank you so much for joining us. You've come just in time. If you can, quickly grab a small snack that is bite-sized. Okay, we're going to go through a mindfulness exercise quickly. So go ahead and grab that. And before we start, I'd love to know what everyone has grabbed. So I know that Priya has grabbed pineapple. I'd love to know what everyone else has decided to use for today's exercise. And if you have any questions, please pop them in the comment section below. So I'm just going to give you a few moments for that. Chocolate is good. And the reason why I say that every food, there's no good or bad food, is because every single piece of food that we eat provides us with nutrition. At the end of the day, everything that we eat provides us with something that we need. No matter what it looks like, no matter how big it is, no matter where it comes from, it provides our body with something that our body can use. Okay. Perfect. Nuts are fantastic. Paul has joined you on the nut train. There we go. Frank has got a gluten-free Oreo. I didn't even know that you got gluten-free Oreos. That's amazing. Yay. Vijaya, I also have dates. I love dates. I eat them all the time. I actually have a fantastic recipe for these energy balls that I make as a healthy snack. And dates are the staple for that. Okay, so when we do this exercise, don't focus on your screen or anything. Just listen to me and focus on the actual food that you have. Please don't chew or swallow until I say so, because it's a slow exercise, but we're going to have fun with it. Right. So I'd like you to place yourself in a comfortable position and then put the piece of food that you have in your hand. Right. Now, I'd like you to either hold it in the palm of your hand or between your fingers, whatever's comfortable for you. And I'd like you to focus on it. And pretend that you have never seen this object before in your life. It is completely new to you. Taking a good look at it, let your eyes explore every part of it. Examining the highlights where the light shines, the darker hollows, the folds and ridges, and its unique features. Asking yourself what color it is, what shape is it? Now explore how it feels in your hand. Turning it and passing it over from one hand to another, gently touching it between your fingers. Explore its texture. And what I'd love for you guys to do at this moment is to close your eyes so that you can enhance your sense of touch and just embrace and enjoy the texture of the food that's in your hand. Now I'd like you to smell the piece of food that you have in your hand, holding it beneath your nose, and within each inhalation, drink in any smell, aroma, or fragrance that may arise from this piece of food. Noticing that as you do this, your body starts to do certain things. Your mouth and your stomach may have a certain reaction to it. Acknowledge these reactions. Now place the piece of food in front of your mouth. Don't eat it just yet. Just place it in front of your mouth and notice the action that took place in order to bring that food towards your mouth. How your arm had to bend, how your fingers had to bend, how your fingers are holding onto the food. Focus on that movement. Become aware of it. Now I'd like you to spend a few moments exploring the sensation of having this food in your mouth. So place the food into your mouth, onto your tongue, and just hold it there. Just hold it there. Just notice the textures and the taste that is slowly filling your mouth without chewing it, without swallowing, just enjoying the texture. Right. When you're ready, I'd like you to take one bite. This may be very difficult, but just one bite into the food that's into your mouth, and notice which part of your mouth is being used to chew in it. Remembering that each tooth in our mouth does something different, each muscle does something different. Notice where your body places that piece of food before it chews into it. Now I'd like you to start chewing the food slowly, experiencing any waves of tastes that may come from it as you continue to chew. Don't swallow yet. Just notice those sensations of taste and texture in your mouth and how this may change over time. Certain foods may start off sweet and start to have a bitter taste to it, or the other way around. So notice how the taste is starting to change within your mouth. When you're ready, you may finally swallow that piece of food. And while you're swallowing it, focus on what your body is doing and where that food is going. How it moves to the back of your mouth, down your esophagus and into your stomach. Fantastic, everyone. So I'd love to ask you guys how all of you are feeling now that you've eaten a bite-sized piece of food at such a slow pace, asking yourself those questions. Do you feel satiated, or do you feel hungry like you'd like some more? I'd love to know. So while you're swallowing and finishing that off, let me know in the comments how you feel now that you've eaten that piece of food. So a lot of diets now, I know the Maya diet that's been around for hundreds of years. It was created by Xavier Maya, who believed that we shouldn't focus on how much we are eating, but rather what we are eating and being mindful of it. So Paula's still chewing. No problem, Paula, take your time. There's no rush. I'll share a few facts with you while you're chewing. So Rebel Wilson from Pitch Perfect recently took part in the Mayo diet, and she lost a massive amount of weight. I don't know if you guys saw this. So what's funny is that a lot of people are praising for her for it, but Xavier Maya creates that diet 100 years ago. And in fact, mindful eating has existed for thousands of years before that. I think many of our ancestors practiced it. So it's not a new thing. But what's lovely about this exercise, and you can do it as often as you like, you don't have to do it throughout your whole meal, but sometimes, you can do it with your dessert or whatever that may be, just to slow down and enjoy something. And you don't even have to complete the exercises I did. Just sit there and take one bite of your food and ask yourself, what does it smell like? What does it taste like? How does it feel in my mouth? And like Vijaya said here, cherish the food. It's very, very difficult, especially, I can take a perfect example here, Vijaya. So exactly what you were eating. So like a date, for me to sit, and this exercise is probably about between 3, and it can take up anywhere to about 10 minutes, depending on how slow it is or how slow you do it. But for me to chew on this for a good 5 minutes is very, very difficult. But it actually, I don't know about you guys, but it helps us reflect and reminds us just how quickly we eat food and how we forget to experience it and enjoy it. So like you say here, Vijay, we need to cherish food. We need to enjoy it and experience every single part of food, not just what it tastes like and not just how it makes our tummy feel. Everything about it. Thank you so much, Andini. It's definitely one of my favorites. And if you guys do have any time during the week, if you go to the Drexel University, so I'll put that in the comments at some point. So if you go to their website, they actually have a mindfulness eating quiz that you can take. So you can answer those questions and actually see just how mindful you are when you are eating. So that's the Drexel University website. Priya saying, that was hard, especially holding it for so long in front of my mouth and a lot to observe. I literally feel like that one bite is enough or another. Love the exercise time. You're so welcome, Priya. But, it is very, very difficult. But you know what? You enjoyed that piece of pineapple and you're grateful for it. And that's the whole point of it. So Yes, I eat fast. So do I. You know what? I have especially when I'm working, I don't notice that I just put food into my mouth without even thinking about it. I think sometimes I don't even think I chew. I think my mom was definitely one of those moms that used to sit there and say, slow down, Sam, and chew your food, because I don't know. I love food, but at the same time, I have my moments where I can eat fast. And that's where this exercise is perfect. So when you find that you're starting to eat rapidly, or that you're no longer in touch with your body, then you can sit and do this exercise and reconnect with yourself, and imprint that mindfulness into your mind once again. Sitting on the floor cross-legged and enjoying the food with our family is a ritual that brings us and our food together. I absolutely love that, Vijay. You know what? I think a lot of families don't eat together anymore. I wish that we did, because I mean, it's not only about the food that's in front of you, but I think it just helps families connect. And food is such a great. I mean, it not only provides us with nutrition, it helps people connect. It creates that connectivity, that love, that conversation and fun. I have so many memories with my friends and my family where I remember having fun and laughing and having a good time. And I'm sure that 99.9% of the time we had food in front of us. I noticed I moved my food around in my mouth between my front teeth and my back teeth, then rolling it over my tongue. Nicely done, Paula. Well done for that. Frank says, it's weird. I remember the taste. It was excellent, but I want to do it again because I love the sensation of the different textures and flavors. Go for it. I'm sure there's more than one gluten-free Oreo in the box. So go for it. I chew with my right teeth, then moved around left and right and disappeared slowly. I love this, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here today and sharing your experiences and your insights with me. I absolutely love it. Like I said earlier, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to do a live on the plate module so we can learn how to build our plates with certain foods so that we eat a balanced diet. So I'm really looking forward to that. So like I said today, there's no good or bad food, and eat without judgment. And once again, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to hearing each and every one of yours experiences now that you're going to start eating mindfully, or if you already are. And if you have any questions, or if you can think about anything, then please feel free to send me a message in our hub. It doesn't only have to be about mindful eating. Anything about nutrition anything about food and nutrition in general, I'll be happy to help each and every one of you. So have a fantastic week, and thank you all for being here. Bye.